Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Draft FPL, and we are back with a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. As always, if you enjoy the video, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you're interested in more content from me, more data, more analysis, then hit the Patreon link down below in the description. Let's get stuck into this week's picks. First up, I think I've tipped him 4 weeks out of 6, 3 weeks out of 6 definitely. It's Aaron Hickey, still available in 81% of leagues, and the fixtures through the next 4 are great clean sheet shouts, and you definitely want to start him in those. Game week 8 is United away, which is a little bit tougher, but Everton at home, Forest away, Burnley at home. The other 3 are just absolutely fantastic. There is another option if you already have Hickey, or if he is already picked in your league, and that is Rorslev. Available in 100% of leagues, so he should be free. Rico Henry's picked up probably a season-ending injury, which is a massive shame for him. But that does mean that Hickey is likely to move over to left back, with Rorslev coming in at right back. I think both are really good picks. I don't see any way that they don't play. There's not really much cover anymore. We have seen Mbeumo go to right wing back a couple of times when they've been playing 5 at the back. Brentford generally play 5 at the back against the tough opposition and 4 at the back in the easier games. So there is a slight concern that in the tougher games, in the next 4, maybe United away, they will go to that back 5, and there's a minor concern that Mbeumo could play right wing back. But I don't really see it happening, to be honest. I think it's much more likely that Rorslev comes in and Hickey goes over to the left-hand side. But as I said, they've got 3 good clean shouts in the next 4, Brentford. And I think the centre-backs are a little bit hard to call because, as I said, I think they'll play a back 4 in 3 of the next 4 game weeks, which means one of Pinnock, me or Collins will miss out. I think Pinnock is probably the first choice out of the 3 of them, so I don't think it'll be him. I think between me and Collins, I suspect it will more likely be Collins that misses out, but I'm not 100% sure. We've not really seen them play a back 4 too many times while both Collins and me have been fit, and it does seem like it is quite a close competition for that spot. So for me, I think it's the easiest pick is to just go for one of the 2 fullbacks. Up next then, Joel Ward again. I'm always going to pick Palace defenders when the fixtures are good. They've got such a good record of clean sheets in strong home fixtures. They very rarely concede more than 1 goal. And, Fulham at home in game week 6, Forest at home in game week 8. I can tell you already now, my game week 8 waiver video will almost certainly have a Palace defender in, and it will likely be Joel Ward because he is the most widely available. Many people that do pick him up this week would then drop him again in game week 7 for United away. Although, I'm starting to think maybe if actually Palace defenders might be a little bit too good to drop. Their defence really is that good. They're currently the 3rd best defence in the league this season, and the fixtures haven't been that good for them to be kind of in a false position. So I do expect them to stay in the probably top 6 defences this year. So would you drop a top 6 defender, and waiver them every week? Maybe, but maybe not. So it could be that Palace defence is getting to that stage where you don't really want to be dropping them, especially if they've got a decent run of fixtures. And if you can find a team that alternate well over the next 4, it could be worth picking up and rotating that spot. I believe Forest rotate pretty well. I think it's something like Brentford and Luton away in 7 and 9. So not amazing, but definitely decent fixtures. If you're in the 1 week punt territory, the one I'd go for is probably Van Heck of Brighton, playing Bournemouth at home in game week 6. The Brighton defence is very hit and miss, and I don't really trust them that well, but Bournemouth at home is a really strong fixture. And I do think Van Heck is now first choice ahead of Webster. It's really hard to tell with De Zerbi, and you might want to wait on the Europa League lineup and see if he starts, although I'm not really sure how much information that gives you, because if he's benched, does that mean he's not first choice? So he might not play at the weekend, but if he starts, maybe then that means he's going to get rotated. So I think it's a bit of a coin flip either way. I would definitely make sure you've got someone with a half decent fixture first on your bench, just in case if you do pick up Van Heck. But I think it's probably worth the risk for Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth are quite a good attacking side. They do create decent numbers, but they've not been finishing their chances so far, so we'll have to see. I think that's going to be quite an open game, to be honest, so I'm not sure how confident I am in a clean sheet, but when you look at the rest of the fixtures, it's very slim pickings this week, so I think it's probably one of your best bets. On to midfielders then, and if I asked you now to guess who you think has created the most chances in the Premier League this season, and I told you it's not Bruno Fernandes, it's not Odegaard, it's not Maddison, who would you think it is? You probably wouldn't guess it's someone that's available in 37% of leagues, but Pedro Neto is the man who has created the most chances in the Premier League this season. He's also had a decent number of shots. His stats are kind of off the charts, and he has actually got a decent amount of returns. I think it's 4 assists in 5 games, I think. Not got on the score sheet yet, but he's doing pretty well, and it's just a shame that Wolves don't have a really clinical striker, because I think Neto would be absolutely feasting if that was the case. But despite that, I do think that they have a decent attacking output this season, and I don't trust the Wolves defence at all. They're kind of the opposite to what we saw a few years ago, where they were a good defence but terrible going forward. This team is actually quite a good attacking unit, but the problem is they just can't finish. That's been the problem so far this season, but if they can turn that around, I think they're on for a very high scoring year. Whether they'll stay up or not, I'm not 100% sure, because, like I said, their defence is poor. But when you look at the fixtures, I think for Game Week 6 and Game Week 9, Luton away, Bournemouth away, both of those teams are going to try and attack Wolves at home, and I think that could then play into Wolves' hands. Pedro Neto's fantastic on the break, and I really do think he's in for a couple of decent hauls over the next few weeks. Obviously, Game Week 7 City at home is not ideal. You can bench him for that one, but I think he's a really good pickup. I know he's only available in 37% of leagues, but if that is one of your leagues, I think you'd be mad not to go for him. Next up, we've got Kevin Sharda, available in 59% of leagues. As I said earlier, Brentford generally play a 4-3-3 against the weaker teams and kind of like a 5-3-2 against the tougher opposition. They have 2 set systems that they flick between, and I think Kevin Sharda is pretty much locked in the 4-3-3 system. He seems to be first choice ahead of Lewis Potter to take that third attacking spot alongside Wissa and Mbeumo, and I suspect Game Week 6, Game Week 7, Game Week 9 he will start all 3 of those, would be my guess, because I think they'll play the 4-3-3 in all of them, and he has got decent data when playing in that system, so I think he's a very exciting prospect and someone that I'm definitely looking to target for the next, for these good fixtures that Brentford have got coming up. Next up, we've got Kolo Toure of Burnley, yet to return this season, but is available in 99% of leagues. I don't know how many people watched the Forest Burnley game on Monday night, but I was actually really impressed with Kolo Toure. I think he is a very exciting talent. He makes stuff happen. Company was very positive about him in the post-match press conference, which gives me a lot more confidence that he's definitely going to be first choice and going to be starting in the weeks coming up. And I think Burnley, they were terrible in the first 15 minutes of that game, absolutely awful. They couldn't string 2 passes together, but they really grew into the game, and by the end they were the better side in that game, and they could easily have won it if a VAR decision hadn't gone against them. And I think going forward, I think we're going to see Burnley get better and better and better as the weeks go on. At the moment, they are a bottom 3 team in the league. That is no question. I'm not trying to argue they're not, but I think that Company is improving them slowly but surely, and I think they've got a little bit of a tough run of fixtures here. The only positive is that double game week in Game Week 7, although it is Newcastle away, which is very tough, Luton away, which is quite a good fixture. So Game Week 7 is obviously great, but I think the rest of them, United at home, I think they could definitely get something out of that. Chelsea at home, they could have a go there. Brentford away is going to be really tough, and then beyond that, I think the fixtures get a little bit better. So I just think, is it not the worst decision to just pick up Kolo Toure, who is going to be one of their main threats? Obviously, now that Foster's got a 3-match suspension, he's out for the double game week, so that's a massive loss if you've got him. I think that it's a good time to pick one up. You can always bench them this week and Game Week 8 and Game Week 9 if you think you need to, but I think for that double game week, Kolo Toure is my favourite midfield pick. Next up, we've got Christie, available in 100% of the league still, and Bournemouth have had the worst fixtures so far this season, and those tough fixtures do continue. Brighton away this week, Arsenal at home next week. Then from Game Week 8 onwards, they've got a really, really good run. As I said earlier, Bournemouth are quite a good attacking side. They are creating quite a lot of chances. They just need to figure out a way to get more of those chances in the back of the net. And I think as the fixtures turn, that might suit them because they will have a little bit more time to get it figured out. But I think this Brighton-Bournemouth game is going to have goals in it. Brighton are so open, they're all out attack, and Bournemouth are really good in the transition. So I think that this is the kind of game where we could see quite a high-scoring affair. And Christie's playing number 10. Obviously, he's not Solanke. I mean, Solanke is a fantastic option this week, and I think, you know, the managers that have him are really lucky to be able to start him this week. But outside of him, Christie is the most safe and probably the most boring pick. He is playing number 10 behind Solanke. I mean, one person I have definitely got my eye on is Luis Sinisterra. As people that know from last season, I absolutely loved him when he played for Leeds. I backed him all the time. Sometimes he let me down, but sometimes he really pulled through. And I think if he can nail down a first 11 spot in the team, I think he could be a really fun pick from game week 8 onwards when those fixtures do get better. On to forwards then, and just the one this week, I've gone for Vinicius of Fulham, available in 86% of leagues, and it seems to me that he's probably going to be first choice, if not this week coming up, but certainly within the next few game weeks, because Raul Jimenez just has not been performing, to be honest. You know, I really kind of hoped that he would kind of reignite his career at Fulham and start, you know, going back to how he was before that horrible injury. But it doesn't look like it's happening. Vinicius got subbed on this week, didn't start, but he got subbed on and scored within about 3 minutes of being on the pitch. I think he's going to claim that first choice number 9 position. Whether it's this game week, I'm not sure, but I think within a couple of weeks it will be Vinicius. And if he starts this week and does well, you'll struggle to get him off the waivers. And when we're looking ahead, that game week 8 fixture, Sheffield United at home, is one I'd want to target. So I think if you've got a dud third forward, it might be worth picking him up this week. You can always bench him in 6 and 7, and if it does look like he's definitely going to start, you've got a great option for game week 8. Okay everyone, that wraps up my picks for game week 6. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, check out the Patreon link down below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.